Welcome to NeuroNoodle's Neurofeedback and Neuropsychology podcast featuring tech legend Jake Gunkelman. He's the man who has read well over 500,000 brain scans, and Dr. Marie Swingle, author of iMinds. Our goal is to provide information and promote options for better mental health. The NeuroNoodle podcast is supported by listeners and businesses just like you. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying the show and want to help us keep it going, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support helps improve the content and brings on great guests and grow the show. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/NeuroNoodle. But hey, if supporting financially isn't in the cards right now, no worries. You can still help us out for free by liking, subscribing, and sharing this episode. It really makes a difference and helps more people find the show. If we've earned it, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.
Oh, Jesus. It is hilarious.
Everybody,
it's hilarious to sit in the green room, I have to say, and listen to. Oh, Jesus.
How
Joy
funny.
Lunt, John Mekrut, Jake.
Oh, we're live. Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, we're totally live. That's what I'm saying. It's Anthony Ramos. He has so many things. Oh, geez. Santiago from... Are you serious? Santiago, you're here too?
How cool.
Oh!
Yeah.
Good stuff.
What I was saying is, Anthony sends me, I don't know, a lot of pages of notes, and I failed to put them in the details. And as Jay knows, I have fumbled left and right. And Joy Lunt, thank you for. I think Joy Lunt's going to keep us straight. I really do. Joy Lunt, thank you.
Oh, follow me, says the Pied Piper. Hey, girl from Chicago, how bad could it be?
Besides, I'm the designated bad influence, so that's already taken.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So
here's
Joy
what
and Pete are
happens.
both Chicago? That's interesting.
I'm not in Chicago now, but I am from Chicago.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Joy Lunt's old school. Santiago, what's for breakfast in Singapore?
Oh, what do you fancy?
I don't know. You're there, I'm not.
You want local food? You want Western food?
Do you have
want
like
seafood?
Hue? What's it, HUE? You have a glass full of
What's-
green gook?
You
Never
know,
mind.
I
We'll keep
I
going.
heard from Santiago that the coffee there isn't quite what it is in Colombia, and he needs to
No.
set up a coffee import business in Singapore. So
That's an excellent idea. You know, ironically, you know what's the one country where I have the best coffee ever, in my opinion?
Yeah.
It's Australia.
Really?
Yeah. Melbourne especially. Sydney, I didn't love it so much, but Melbourne has excellent coffee. And they do hold an annual barista competition every year. So
Duly noted.
Yeah.
All right, Joy Lunt, Santiago, thank you for coming here, and everybody else. Who wants to take the lead on this thing? I'm going to watch the comments here. I'm going to say next week we may have to push this out an hour, maybe 2 hours, to get more people. We'll see what happens because we're 2 minutes into it. There we go. We got 2 viewers just popped in.
Cool.
Do we have to do this a little bit later, or how do we do this? But till we figure that out, what are we going to talk about, Joy? Because between you and Anthony, I can't keep track of what you guys want to talk about.
Go ahead, Joy.
Well, I like to get my hands dirty up to the elbows. So I won't have any research citations, and I won't have any particular things other than what I've seen and witnessed as backup, you know.
Mhm.
So basically what you're saying is there's a disclaimer on this podcast or Q&A show that please check in with your primary care physician. Continue.
Well, you know, Pete, I will bring the stuff to that too, because many of my clients check in with their primary care and they go, That? Oh, it's garbage. It's a waste of money. because they don't know about it. So
Yeah.
if you have concerns, and if you have particularly medical diagnosis, by all means, go and ask your primary care if they feel that this could have any negative influence or impacts on your situation. You might also ask them, and this gets to be language, but you don't really want to know what they think about it. You want to know what they know about it. And when most of them are honest with you, they will tell you they don't know much about it. So in fairness, whether you're asking your mental health practitioner or your physical health practitioner, make sure that you're kind of asking them, is there any contraindication here? Is this likely to cause me problems? Have you seen this be a problem for people? I think that's probably the most significant information some other healthcare provider might be able to provide them with. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, I will say
John Mekrut is sitting on his hands, and I'm uncomfortable when he does that.
Experienced me. No. I think Joy's on target here. My only hesitation is by even asking the question of another medical provider of any sort, you're kind of opening up the door to that. It's all bogus. It's all not. I've never heard anything good about it. Blah blah blah. I'm not sure if I'm going to ask my primary care physician if he's got a comment about using neurotherapy for my condition. Now, I mean, the proviso would be if you're diagnosed with seizure activity, it's certainly something you should probably ask about. But I mean, that's our job too, is to ask that. Do you have a history of seizure activity? That's one of the flags that we would look for. Have you been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder? Another flag, at least for me. Yeah. So, but other than that, I'm not sure if I'm going to ask my primary care physician about my son's ADD. What do you think of neurofeedback? I think you're going to get a ridiculous answer most of the time.
On the other hand, I think it is wise for us to say something along the lines of, we are not in any way, shape, or form providing medical advice or guidance.
Correct.
We are simply providing the information we have gleaned from our experience, from our own personal research, and we're happy to give you any of that might apply to you. But in no way, shape, or form is it to be taken as medical advice or mental health advice.
Correct. Yeah, correct. I mean, in other words, that extends not only to this show, but in the larger context of it with client relations. Absolutely.
Right.
We train, we don't treat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, what I normally tell people is that the neurotherapy will stabilize brain functioning and optimize brain functioning. We're not treating anything, we're not curing anything. And that just prepares you to receive the info or implement that skill that you've been wanting to implement for a long time. If you want to sleep better, well, the neurotherapy paves the way for your brain to be able to do that. Now, what do? You practice good sleep hygiene, and then you get the most of it. You practice attentional skills. You practice your executive functions. You exercise them volitionally. Because I think that goes along the line with what the client, the customer expects neurofeedback to be. And sometimes they have a hard time differentiating what neurofeedback is and what it isn't, and also what it can and cannot do. Once I had a mom of a teenager, she tells me, he's doing better at school. His marks are better. His grades are improving, the whole thing. And then she goes, but I haven't seen improvements in social conduct. And I said, well, neurofeedback doesn't directly do that for you. That's something you have to teach him, and that's something he has to engage in. The neurofeedback will facilitate him socializing because his brain is more able now to allow him to do the work. But you now have to really go out there and talk to people and learn from interactions what's socially acceptable and what isn't. And I think it is important for the people who are listening to us to understand this, that we can help you make things easier by stabilizing your brain activity, but there's certain behaviors that you still have to engage in actively to pursue the healing and to pursue, and more importantly, consolidate that change more permanently.
Absolutely right on, Santiago. One of the problems is for the consumer, people watching the show or thinking about neurofeedback, visit 80% of the websites and you're going to see conditions we treat. You're going to see a list. We treat bipolar disorder. So we as practitioners are fighting amongst ourselves on how to present what it is we do. I think you said it perfectly, Santiago. We set the stage for the brain to be able to learn what it needs to learn. Learning happens way outside our office. They're in our offices a few hours a week. The rest of the week is where brains are learning stuff, good and bad.
There are some people. There are some people that have credentials to call it treatment. And for them, they can use the term treat because that's in their licensure, and the list of things that they can't treat need to be things that their license allows them to say they treat. You can't be a psychologist and necessarily say that you treat epilepsy. If you're a medical doctor, you can treat epilepsy.
We've had this conversation before, though, about just because you're allowed to say it because of your licensure doesn't change the fact of what it is we do. We train brains for better performance. We don't treat bipolar disorder. None of us do. I don't care if you're a doctor and you're using neurofeedback. You're not treating bipolar disorder. It's not what you're doing. And that's my huge friction point around how we present ourselves in this world.
John, the difference between the two words is setting expectations. Whoever comes in, treat versus train, like what it's going to come out. If you're going to come in for one session, nothing's going to be treated
or trained.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Joy. Go, girl.
I mean, I'm sorry. That's like going for one piano lesson. Exactly. How much did you want to learn how to play?
Right. One tennis lesson.
I think it's heavily connected to the fact that people are so conditioned to the diagnosis piece of the equation.
Absolutely.
In my style, whenever I'm given feedback on an EEG, I never diagnose anybody. You will never hear me say you have depression, you have anxiety, you have ADHD. I will say your brain shows patterns that correlate with X and Y behaviors that would make you act or behave or feel in a certain way. And for 90% of the people that works well, but then you have the 10% who go, but so I have ADHD, so do I have anxiety? They need a label. They need to live by that label. And I tell them, look, you're not going to hear from me. If they push me, I'll say, fine. If you want to hear the words, yes, it might be this, it might be that, but I'm not diagnosing you.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you want a label, here's the label, but I'm not diagnosing you. Because like Jay always says, we have to be concerned with the neuronal substrates. And the brain is so dynamic. And what happens in the EEG, it's a universe, a conglomerate of so many things that it's really hard to label. And I think part of the job that we do is we need to educate the public and that the EEG is valuable, but we're stepping away from diagnosing you. We're helping you understand the why. Let's see why you are so angry and you lose control. Let's see why you have problems focusing. Let's see why your child is not doing well and flunking out of school. Let's see why you crave the sugars and you cannot control your emotional eating. I think that's what's most important, because the risk that you run with the diagnosis is that the client is going to use it and is going to live through it. It's like if you're a director and you go give an actor a character they want to play, they're going to go method on it. And there's clients who go method on their diagnosis. Oh, this doesn't work for me because I have depression. This doesn't work for me because I have ADHD. And I think it's part of that. And for the public, for our customers, our clients, to understand that that's what we do. We help you understand the why. We correct it to the best of our ability. We work as a team, and then we help you move forward and become a better or newer version of yourself.
One of the things, Santiago, I think that your point is absolutely perfect. what I have discovered, a few years ago, I used to do presentations at local NAMI meetings, National Alliance for Mental Illness. It's a countrywide support group for people. And what I learned from those meetings was that one of the things people said frequently was, what I don't understand is every time I go to see a new psychiatrist, I walk out the door with a different diagnosis. Who am I? Oh, wait. Who am I? Am you the diagnosis? No, I don't think so. But it is the perception that the public walks around with. They are bipolar disorder. They are schizophrenic. They are depressed, right? I mean, you hear them talk. That's the verbiage they use. So one of the things that I found very helpful with these folks was it's always fun to try and explain neurofeedback to a group who's never seen it before. And I learned a lesson. I needed to start with a QEEG. So as I presented the information as very objective brain information, what I was able to tell them was, every time you come into their office, your brain doesn't change. It's still doing that. Now, if you want a name for it, maybe they would see it differently and everyone will give you a different name for it. But believe me, your brain is still doing the same thing. And so one of the things that as I go the QEEG explanation with people, I talk to them, I'm like, okay, so that's interesting. You came in and you told me all about your depression and your years of depression. And on your QEEG here, I see some very interesting activity in your left kind of frontal and temporal area that might support the way you feel. But what if instead of going around and telling people, oh, I have depression, you would say to them, it turns out my brain is producing too much alpha in my left frontal temporal area. How does that feel? And they were like, well, that's actually okay. I'm like, but that's still a description of what's going on and why you're feeling like that. And so I don't think we have much hope of this, but it would be nice before I decide to leave the earth. What if we actually stopped people from saying it's depression, it's anxiety, it's instead let them use the description of the brain activity that's making them behave that way or feel that way.
100%.
There was no shame. There was
nobody's ever used the EEG as a pejorative.
Right.
You have a diagnosis, they can use it. Oh, you have this or you have that, and that it's a pejorative.
Yes.
But it's not a valid one. The DSM was declared invalid when it came out, and it's still invalid. It hasn't become valid since it came out. It's reliable. You usually get the same diagnosis if you go through the same diagnostic process, but it doesn't tell you how to treat it. Not one bit.
No.
If you come up with a diagnosis of depression, the list of antidepressants is a whole bunch of different kinds of meds. And if you have ADD, the list of meds that you can have for ADD is a big, long list of different kinds of meds. And it's because the diagnosis isn't a uniform diagnosis. You really do need to look at the underlying endophenotype, which will tell you how to treat. And when I came up along with Joy with the publication on endophenotypes, I was contacted by Evian Gordon and Martijn Arns, and they were all excited because it got a way for the neurofeedback people to be able to address the training without using a diagnosis. And that allowed people that didn't necessarily have a credential of an MD or a psychiatrist to end up working with somebody without having to use the diagnostic labeling. They could just basically treat the underlying EEG endophenotype to normalize it. And by the way, it happens to make all the behavioral problems get better. If you make the brain work better, suddenly it works better. So.
Jay, I think they know it. I think they're catching on. I was speaking to a psychiatrist friend last Thursday, And they said it's almost like she listened to the podcast of Jay speaking last week. I know she didn't, but I said, what's been new in psychiatry? And she said, honestly, it's biological psychiatry. And she even used a phrase that Martijn Arns uses for his paper headline. She said, stratifying care by the biomarker. These are her I promise you, she's never listened to our podcast, or probably Martijn. Now, I probed a little further. She says she's reading about the molecular mechanisms of disease, and she mentioned fMRI. I think she might have mentioned EEG. But at least I think there's an insight that Jay was saying that they want to adopt the biological mechanisms and the physiological. John had sent an article actually about that. I don't know if he wants to talk that. Psychiatry is having an identity crisis right now. Are we neurology or are we psychology? Let's say that was my gist.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, this goes back to Freud, but the schism that happened with him. But yeah, a reunification is well overdue. You know, obviously from this person writing about psychiatry was really focusing in on the psychodynamic quotient, and that psychiatry has become largely medication management. And in her view, I think it was in her view, almost too leaning towards biological psychiatry, but that there was still a place for psychodynamic interaction in the cognitive space, which I completely agree with. You know, to say this to my clients as well. You know, you need, as we're working on doing neurotherapy to help your brain circuits be better aligned for your life purpose, you also have to know what your life purpose is. You have to define that in your cognitive space so that you have a goal in mind. You know, it's not just random chaos. You know, have a purpose, have all of that landscape, you know, organized so that you can pursue what it is that you'd like to do with your life. So, yeah, there's an identity crisis going on in psychiatry for sure. I feel so bad for them. You know, they used to be able to do talk therapy, and then the insurance company said, no, we're going to give the psychologists because they're cheaper, and they're just relegated to doing 15-minute med checks to earn a living to pay back their vast loans that they took out to become psychiatrists. And it's sad because they do have a lot to give to the community. They are MDs. They are highly skilled, highly trained people with a vast amount of knowledge that I don't have. So why can't we bring them into this, you know, in the same way that we would to a psychologist or any number of other mental health professionals?
Because John, they bite and scratch when you try to help them in the door.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, most of them do. Yeah, try to find an integrative psychiatrist.
There are psychiatrists that have entered the field, and once they kind of have the experience of this alternate universe, they very seldom want to go back to the classical practice. I'll give you the example of Hassan Asif in New York, a psychiatrist, classically trained, but he attended a workshop and got bit by the neurofeedback bug, and the QEEG virus invaded his office. His wife was sick and tired of him buying more equipment, and when he bought the TMS machine, they had a divorce. But you know, his practice flourished. He actually got covered in the Washington Post with a 2 full-page spread on his practice, and try to buy that kind of PR. You know, I don't know what a 2-page spread of the Washington Post is going to cost you, but that's a lot of money. He got referrals from Australia and Europe because of the coverage in the Washington Post. He's extremely busy, and he considers himself a neurotherapist because he does neurotherapy. And he's quite happy being considered a neurotherapist. It's what he does. When you walk into his office, you get an EEG hooked up because he wants to see your EEG. He's got a tech who hooks everybody up who comes in, whether you're coming in for medication or neurofeedback or TMS or whatever the reason for the referral. He wants to look at the EEG. So he has a tech hook everybody up. So it's a totally different model, but it works very well for him. He's so successful that he opened a second practice in Georgia. not the state, the country.
Oh,
So, like Trevisi, Georgia, not like Atlanta,
oh,
So,
cool.
Wow.
and
It's very nice.
he's as busy as he wants to be, and it's changed his practice and has changed his life, and
you
for the
guys-
better. He doesn't want to go back.
Yeah, you guys did a nice interview a couple of weeks ago with Dr. Hedaya from New Jersey, integrative psychiatrist, uses neurofeedback. So they are out there, but they are pretty darn rare. And
Yep.
I have sent that video around to people to say, this is what it looks like, people. This is what y'all got to be thinking about.
Yeah,
That
there's
is
two
the
or three
question,
things
John.
that I want
Wait.
to add, if I may. Go ahead, Joy. Go ahead. Ladies
I'm just
first.
going to ask John, did you see anything about, I see what they're looking for. What did they propose to use for treatment?
I'm sorry, with whom? Who were you
The
speaking?
psychiatrists, they're
This Dr.
looking for more
Hedaya?
biomarkers and biological stuff. What do they propose to do?
Well, he's using, I'm just speaking to this gentleman, Dr. Hedaya,
Yeah.
is using neurofeedback in his psychiatric practice. I was just riffing on what Jay was speaking of, this other psychiatrist. So I'm just commenting that there are others out there doing this, incorporating neurotherapy into traditional psychiatric practice, cognitive space, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
How far he goes past that, I don't know.
I mentor a psychiatrist in Maryland every week
Okay.
who is just horrified by the idea of having to do medication management anymore. But what my question is, the article you brought in said that they are turning toward the biological, the biomarkers, everything else. That's great. What do they offer in the way of treatment when they're looking at it that way?
No, I think this article was purely in referencing that they found that the push towards biological psychiatry was leaving behind the traditional psychodynamic work that psychiatrists were once called to do. And that this person was kind of lamenting that, saying, wait a minute, there's a place for psychodynamic work in the field of psychiatry. Don't get so lured into biologics and molecular neuropsychiatry. I mean, there's probably a journal for what I just said. There's a journal for everything, it seems, but it has fragmented into these really, unique and niche explorations of how all of this can work, which is all great. That's all good research to do. This person just wanted to make sure that the field of psychiatry didn't leave psychodynamics behind.
Okay.
I didn't mean to imply that the person had an answer. They were just lamenting.
Yeah.
So I think there's two or three things that I want to add, if I may. The first one is, I think it's very important for the consumer to know, for the client who is seeking neurofeedback services. It's important that they know that what matters, it's not the practitioner's ego, it's their health. And something I always tell prospective clients after they do an EEG is, look, I've read the EEG for you, the QEEG, here's a report. This is my professional impression based on my training. You're welcome to seek a second, third, fourth, or fifth opinion, because what matters is your well-being and not my ego and not that of your neurologist or your psychiatrist or your general practitioner. What matters, it's you and your well-being. So always look for a professional who has you in their best interest. A good professional is that who will care for your health and will put their fragile ego aside. That's very important for people to understand. So for those who are listening, always seek somebody who's going to see you as a human being and who's going to work on the healing relationship with you.
So important.
And if and don't be upset if they go with another professional. That's just part of the work. If they want to work with you, they will work with you. If they don't want to work with you, just count your losses and move on. I think that's very important. Now, as you guys know, I've been very fortunate to more recently go around the world and spread the good word on the EEG and neurofeedback. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that the trend is changing. In the beginning of this year, I went to Jakarta to do a training, and it was a training specifically for psychiatrists. And this had around 20 psychiatrists who now want to learn the QEEG because they're tired of just doing psychopharmacology. They want to learn EEG phenotypes and they want to learn neurofeedback to go alongside with the medication, because they have realized that for some patients, medication can save their life, but they cannot marry them to the medication long term. So they want to use other options. I was about a month and a half ago, went to Romania, and I was teaching with Dekun from iMedicine. And in that training, we had 2 psychiatrists, 2 neurologists, and 2 neurosurgeons. So like Jay says, all we need is that open-minded skeptic to get the ball rolling. And I'm scheduled to go to Indonesia next year to do a training for a group of neurologists who want to understand the EEG beyond the bipolar montage and beyond looking at it for epilepsy. They want to understand neuropsychiatric disorders. So I think that the work that we're doing, all the hard work we've been doing for the last few years, is paying off. And it just takes that one person who spreads the word, and then we get it going. And I see there's a nice transition. All we need to do is use that momentum and keep it going and educate the younger future practitioners to do that, because none of us is getting younger, and we need to get the younger generations to keep that momentum going. It's very important that we don't let it die, because we've come to a point in which we're really getting the word out.
That's the first comment. Oh my God.
I think that came from Pete, right?
No.
I just put a post on the Reddit thing going, we're live right now. This is your opportunity to get those questions answered. So
that's right. That's right.
Well, it is summer. What would you rather be doing? Be out in the sunshine having a drink, or being in here?
That's a good one.
So the part of it is, I think we may have to push this out a little bit. Who knows? We'll see. But continue. Santiago, it's what, 8 o'clock, 8:30 in Singapore.
7:30 in the morning. Yeah.
7:30. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it.
How many people were sleeping on the train?
Oh, good Lord. That's a lot. We have a huge problem with mental health here, to be honest with you. Every time I ride the train, you see 2 things, especially early morning peak hours, early morning after work. It's either people are sleeping or they're on their phone. And there's been more recent news about the phone addiction for teenagers here. It's a huge problem, not only in Singapore. I would say in Southeast Asia, it's a trend like it would be everywhere in the world. But that to me speaks about the state of mind for people's mental health. Singapore is a thriving country, but it's also a very stressful one. Life is very active here, and it's most people are engaged in the rat race, the pursuit of money.
Well, Santiago, tell everybody, Singapore finance is key.
Say that again, Pete. Sorry.
In Singapore, finance, that is the economy, right?
It is the economy, yeah. And so you see people being overworked and stressed out. Everybody's highly stressed out here, which is very sad. The other thing that really struck me is I was recently in Japan with my wife on holiday, and I had heard the news and seen some documentaries on people being overworked. And there was this instance, I'm walking around Osaka, and it's about 11 in the morning, close to lunchtime. And I see this gentleman sitting on a fountain, wearing his suit. He was clearly the corporate type, with his briefcase in his hand, and he slouched over and falling asleep. And that really broke my heart, because this happens a lot there. In Japan, in Korea. You don't see it so much in Singapore, but I saw it in Japan a couple of times. And it's really heartbreaking how we're working ourselves to death, and how we're really doing it backwards. It's just, being in Asia, you have the juxtaposition of things, on the one end, you see the good things about the culture here, and then on the other end, you see the dark end of the culture. And when I moved here, my expectation was that Asian cultures would be like they portrayed in the movies or like you read in history, more of a spiritual guided or spiritually based latent society. And sadly, I have found it's the complete opposite. Technology has really changed the landscape, and we're in serious need of help. So a lot of the work that I do here is to lobby for neurofeedback, and I do as much going around visiting doctor's office, talking to neurologists and psychiatrists and telling them about neurotherapy, going to schools, because we really need to help people. We really need to turn the clock back.
Mr. Singapore, you've been traveling around the entire world preaching neurofeedback. And I know Jay preaches your laurels, but what has happened in the last 2 years where like you are in Oxford, you are all over the place? How did that happen?
Well, I was hoping you would tell me, because I really don't know how that happened. Look, I'm going to say first of all, go ahead, Jay.
When you know your material, and the material is very, very difficult, and the EEG is, at that point, you are the expert. And Santiago has studied the EEG as a student, as I am, and has picked up the tricks of being able to identify the waveforms and be able to operate the software. And he's held in high regard because of his knowledge. I'm a glorified tech, and Santiago has taken on the glorified tech role because I can't travel anymore. But there's he carries with him the technical knowledge, and everybody wants that. It's not easy to get. It takes decades, Santiago, to end up cramming the knowledge in before you can end up being able to spit it out without major error. And he's done the heavy lifting and studied hard and long. I see him as one of the people with good EEG eyes. He sees the waves and knows them.
Now we have an esteemed cast here, and whoever speaks up first is esteemed. But Joy Lunt, this is the second time you've been on here. You are president-elect of what?
Wait, a president right now?
Aren't you a president-elect of a neurofeedback society or something, INSR?
2015.
Yeah.
I was elected president of ISNR.
So you're saying I am 9 years late?
Well, but happy anniversary, Joy.
It is part of my pedigree, I guess.
Jay, when were you president?
A long time ago.
Oh Jesus, this is a rough crowd.
I was president of the California Society twice, and the second time I got up and left the room because I have diabetes insipidus and I have to go pee a lot because I drink so much. And I got up and left the room, and when I left the room, they elected me president and closed the meeting. So you can't turn your back on these people.
That'll teach you to go to the bathroom.
Exactly, and I got elected president because I left the room. I couldn't object. But I had already been president before that, and they figured I couldn't goof it up any worse than I already had, I guess. So.
No. All right, hold on. Mark Jones is the current president of INSR. Who's the next president?
No, the current president is what's her name?
Yeah,
I know.
I thought it was you.
Well, okay, but Pete, the thing is
is it Tanya from
Tanya? Yes, in about a month.
Marisoli, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I have a picture of Tanya with Barry Sturman from 2004 or 5, with the first major Mexican meeting sponsored by Dr. Romana Mica, the neurologist in Mexico City, and she was one of the locals who was kind of one of the stars at that point, and obviously she's bloomed to the point where she was pinned on as the president of ISNR, which is not a bad position to have. That you can make some guidance for the field, and having somebody with an international reputation like that as the president makes it an international society. And
all right, you guys are all making me do this. What is the most esteemed thing to be a president of?
The United States.
Jesus, Pete, you set yourself up for that one.
For neurofeedback, all of the BCIA, everything. What is the most esteemed thing? We're hurting on this show. This
No,
is
you're gonna get the AAPB people upset with us now.
I know that's why I threw it out.
So you're looking to pick a fight. All right. What is the most legitimate organization, Jay?
There's regional societies, there are national societies, there are international societies, and you've got to find the one that's appropriate for your location. And some of the international societies are more U.S. centric. Some of them are like the entire EU has the SAN, Society for Applied Neuroscience, which was a spinoff of ISNR as a chapter, but ISNR didn't want a chapter, so they had to start their own organization. But there's organizations all over now. Santiago sees the international perspective of everything, and you can see the field explodingly active internationally. People that are in the U.S. Get the I don't know anything about it. It's just a bunch of old hippies, but internationally, the field is just exploding. It used to be that the U.S. was where the international societies basically were hosted, but now you've got societies in Spain, Italy, Europe, the Australasian Society. There's a group in Brazil. I mean, Santiago sees them all. There's probably one in Romania, but the world is full of expanding neurofeedback application folks, and the field is growing and growing and growing exponentially, and people in the U.S. just don't see it. The world is shifting under your feet, and you don't even know it if you're not looking
what's
around.
accounting for that, Jay? Is the U.S. being left behind on this, or what's?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. Europe funds neurofeedback research.
Right.
When was the last time the U.S. funded a research project? A few years ago for one. NIH funded one poorly designed, limited study. But Europe has got academic universities doing the research, and really fabulous work coming out of Salzburg, Austria, Graz, Austria. Tübingen has been turning out good work since the 60s. But, internationally, it's just really, really growing. And, in part because the, knowledge base is so transferable now over internet. When I started 52 years ago, you'd have to order interlibrary loan, papers. The state hospital I worked at, we found interlibrary loan was from the state hospital library, and we ordered a bunch of articles, but they didn't really have the budget for it, and they sent a memo around saying that nobody except Dr. McNichol, who's writing a book, can order any articles. So I went to Dr. McNichol and had him order the articles I wanted. We spent a 2-year biennial budget in 6 months. But getting the knowledge early on was not easy. Now it's a click and search engines. The only thing you have to watch out for is AI, because it'll make stuff up.
Yeah.
Here's a question I have, and Santiago, you may have a very unique perspective on this, given your recent travels and your international sort of positioning. Is it a top? You're speaking to Europe and the universities and the funding and all the rest of it, Jay. Is it a top-down conversation, or is there a cultural difference between the U.S. people people who live in the United States or Canada for that matter, and Europeans or any other place in the world? Is it because the culture itself has better awareness of self-care? That would be my first thought, that they are more mindful of how they eat, their relationship with nature. Go down the list of human attributes and how they try to take care of themselves. You look at the social structures in the Scandinavian countries and how they provide the opportunity for the citizens there to have good health care, maternity leave, et cetera, et cetera. It's built into their culture. Is there something about the European culture that would promote the interest to even study neurofeedback? Why would a university out of the blue just decide to? You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out if there's a cultural difference here that we're not seeing in the United States. Why don't Americans know about? And I view neurotherapy as a self-care practice. It is about self-empowerment. I think at its core. Is there a difference in Americans that we're just not seeing this take more fruit here than it is elsewhere? God, that was a long-winded question.
I don't necessarily see the difference so much in the awareness itself, because it's the case for every place I go that the majority of the medical professionals, even the mental health professionals, have never heard of neurofeedback. Even with the more recent boom in information, social media, and more people doing YouTube videos and all that, it's still widely unknown. But what I will say is that the European countries that I have visited, or even in South America, or even here in Asia, there's an aspect of cohesion, and that is that these economies are not as powerful as the U.S. These are countries who, Romania recently left communism in '89. Now is making transition into a more capitalist economy, and there's been ups and downs. But the one thing that struck me is that they have the will to learn, and that is they pull together as professionals, and they make their best effort to get educated and to get the technology. And that's been my observation for countries like Brazil. I've been in Brazil 10 times now. It's a country that is very good to me. But the one thing that strikes me about Brazil is how cohesive they are. If they have their learning in their mind, they come up with ways to come up with the funds to fly somebody. As a matter of fact, Antonio Martins is there right now. He also travels there frequently, and he has a huge following. And I know it's not cheap for them to fly him there from London. His teaching fees, plus the technology, plus the learning itself, and the transportation. But I think that I've noticed more cohesion in other societies, less so in the U.S. Now, I also do some teaching in the U.S., but I noticed that it's done through institutions like Stance once was, or In Mind Out, or the School of Neurotherapy, and things like that. But in other countries where people don't thrive as much, they don't take the opportunity for granted. And I think that's a very important aspect which helps the field grow. That's been my observation in general. Now, myself, what I do is I try to ensure as much as I can that people learn proper EEG interpretation. Because I've seen other types of neurofeedback and EEG try to make their way into these cultures. And what I do is tell people, look, it starts with the EEG, it ends with the EEG. And if you see my videos on YouTube, on social media, I post a lot of the same thing. I sort of repeat the message, which is, look, you have to understand the raw EEG if you want to do proper work. And I give them examples. I've been to clinics around the world where they bring me maps, and they give me the map, and the map looks very frightening. And I go, look, show me the EEG. And they go, okay, here's the EEG. And I tell them, look, all this red you see here that looks like beta, that's your muscle tension. See all this delta, it's eye blinks. And it's really an eye-opener. And this professional tells me, you're telling me that for this much time, I have been telling people the wrong information? I'm like, yes, you have. But now you are switching your own schema, and you're willing to learn. And so I think it takes a combination of a culture being open enough and willing enough and able enough, and somebody who really wants to spread the good word. Do it. I human, of course, but I try to do it as ethically and responsibly as I possibly can.
Speaking of starting and ending with the EEG, we have a question about that, Santiago. The question is from Courtney M. It says, how does photobiomodulation, different colors, red, green, blue, etc., affect the EEG? What brainwaves are affected? I don't know if Jay wants to take that or anyone really informed on that.
Anybody want to take it? If not, I can run with it too, you know. But Joy's got something to say.
I just want to do a preface to what Jay is going to say, because I would much rather have Jay answer this. But I would also direct their attention to the fact that we're in the middle of a panel talking about neurofeedback. And one of the educational points is photobiomodulation is not neurofeedback. So
it's neuromodulation.
Okay.
Not. It isn't something that you end up with a learning curve from. It's a treatment, not a training. But you know, if you've got a photobiomodulation, first of all, the photobiomodulation is light emitted and from diodes or lasers, but it's basically a light. And Herschel Tumam came up with the feedback of HEG, the hemoencephalography. You bounce a red light, and the redness that you measure back is based on the redness of the blood. And more hemoglobin with oxygen, it's redder, and less oxygen is a little bit more bluish. So they could tell the level of oxygenation in the frontal area. For people without much hair, you can get a little bit further back, but basically it's for frontal. Now, photobiomodulation uses the same principle of a light that hits the cortex. The thing is, if you flash a light, the cortex tends to have a following. So if you flash at 10, you get a 10. So you can use that. Well, let's say somebody's got an area that's got slowed alpha and ischemia. You can flash that slightly faster than 10 at 12, maybe 13, 14 hertz, and get a gentle positive perfusion in an area that's got low perfusion. So you can use the following effect to end up having the brainwave frequencies fostered. Now, it's not the same as training it. You don't end up with a skill set at the end, but you may have an effect. Now, doing stim and then neurofeedback paired ends up being a good match. That brings the neuromodulation into the neurofeedback, which is another form of neuromodulation. If you flash it at 40 hertz, it basically has been shown to facilitate the function at a mitochondrial level, which is at the cell's engine that gives it energy. And the thing is, the gamma frequencies aren't generated in a specific location. It's not generated anywhere. It's generated everywhere. And gamma's created when you create a network. So the 40 hertz is a generalized effect. You don't usually target it for a specific location. You use it to activate the entire brain, providing a cellular level mitochondrial boost. When that cell is put into a network, it can then be part of that network and actually function. If it doesn't have the mitochondrial energy, you can't really make a network with it. So there are people doing photobiomodulation to facilitate the neurofeedback by doing priming, treat the brain at a frequency that you're going to end up training, and that primes it for the treatment. So the treatment primes it for the training. If you've stimulated and you've got 12 to 14 rolling pretty well with the stimulation and you stop stimulating, the brain at that frequency has a neuroplastic period after the stim. And the neuroplastic period, there's variability in the signal. And a variable signal is a good operant. An operant is the thing you train. If the EEG is stable and steady, it's hard to train it because there's no spontaneous change. After the stimulation, you've got a neuroplastic period with more flexibility. So photobiomodulation is a good priming before neurofeedback. There are people that use it as the sole treatment, and that's up to the therapist as to what they're qualified to do and what they claim for it. But it's a way to affect brain function, and we basically use it paired with the neurofeedback as a good pairing. Yuri Kropotov used stimulation technologies and neurofeedback, and his sense is the same sense that a lot of people get, that it seems to work better together. Now, nobody's done the horse race where you actually do one protocol and another protocol, and you run them both and see whether the stim and neurofeedback work out better than just the neurofeedback or just the stim. But the people who use it seem to have the same feeling that it's a bit better after the stim to do the training. So it's not neurofeedback, and it doesn't have the depth of publication. But you'll find that the 12 to 14 hertz stimulation guided by the EEG has been used in mild cognitive impairment to help reverse the cognitive impairment and maintain cognitive function. And the iSync as a group over in Korea has actually published this with good outcomes. So major reversal of mild cognitive impairment and return to cognitive function.
John Mekrut.
I was just going to compliment. I was just going to 1 second. I just want to compliment Jay on a wonderful summation of what that is for all of anybody listening. That was perfect, Jay. Thank you so much.
Really cool.
Because we use it, and and also the larger frame is, who's going to pay for the study to do that horse race that you're describing?
Yeah. Good luck.
Maybe University of Tübingen will do it, but it's not going to be the NIH probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad you found it to be a satisfactory answer, but I don't really like compliments, so watch.
All right, Joy, Anthony, John.
Well, I do have something to bring us back to the research.
My point is, we've had, this is a stinker. This is a stinker show. We have nobody show up. Maybe 4 people. I think it's a summer. So let's think about, do we have to push this back a little bit, or is it just the summer that people are out in the sunshine?
Perhaps adjusting your expectation. This is like show 1, and the word's not out there yet, and we've got to beat the drum a few times before people will turn and look. So
right.
Talaba is back. Talaba was here last week. Talaba's back.
Hey there.
I think that we just need to keep it going.
Hey, hold on, where's Talaba?
If this gets posted on YouTube, each of us can spread the word out. And like Jansons,
here's Talabo. Talabo, that's the question. I'm feeling very depressed.
Pete,
and thank you,
we can do neurofeedback or neuromodulation on your depression.
On me? You already have my EEG. You have my raw data.
We made Talabo feel bad here.
Well, now, Talabo was late. I'm wondering if, to your point, Jay, is this too late? Is this too early an hour to put this on? Ask Talabo if that's part of the issue. Is this?
Should we push? Like it's 6 o'clock.
We could do the next one an hour later and see if it suddenly gets a surge, but that's an unrealistic expectation. I mean, like I say, you got to beat the drum a few times before people will turn and even look at it.
All right, fine.
All right, let's think of this as the pilot episode, and then it gets picked up for another one, and then another one, and then
or maybe it's
we're lucky enough to get
Santiago. You showed up. You weren't here last week. Last week we had like 20 people, trying to fight.
So maybe it's me. Maybe if I don't show up next time, you'll have more people. Maybe I'm jinxing it. I don't know.
No.
Well, okay,
no.
we're talking about time frames. I mean, it's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's 6 o'clock in Chicago.
Right.
It's 7 o'clock in the East Coast. So we're already hitting quite a wide range. It's 7:30 in the morning in Singapore. That's the question, is like, we're already branching quite a bit. If we push it back an hour, I mean, that is the question. Are people going home from work? Are we interrupting their dinner?
Mhm.
What kind of
That's
impact?
what I'm saying. We have
is this time
interesting
having?
stuff. So
My day starts at 6 a.m. So pushing the end of it to 6 p.m. ends up with a really long day. So that
well,
I
we're
have
not
to
going to
take that
get
into
Jay then,
account.
is what he's saying.
So the morning
Yeah, we
works
can
for
try
me.
1 hour later or keep the same time and keep going.
And
You know, in
Pete,
my experience, a lot of people also watch these things. Watch the encore.
right. Pete, is there any way for you to get information about how many people have watched the recorded version?
3.
The answer is yes, apparently.
But that's the question.
No, kind of what we're doing is, hey, first of all, there's no secrets here. We take this stuff in, and then Jay and I and Marie, or anybody who wants to show up tomorrow, we say, hey, this is what we heard on the show yesterday. You want to expound on it? So maybe Santiago, well, no, Santiago, that's going to be too late for you. Joy Lunt, John Meck, and Anthony.
What time would it be for me?
8 in the morning.
Oh, 8 in the
Well,
morning.
that's Pacific
tomorrow.
time, so
we
that's
already we already understand that 8 in the morning is like, it might as well be midnight for Jay. No.
So,
But are you talking about the episode tomorrow for you guys?
Well, right now we're doing 2. Just so everybody knows, this is the 3rd time we've done this Q&A, and we take whatever we get from this Q&A and we do a show the next day. 13 hours, Jay, 12 hours, whatever it is, and say, hey, what'd you hear? Well, here's what I heard, and let's talk about it. So
hopefully I don't have to repeat the definition of photobiomodulation.
that was pretty good, though, Jay.
Well, I would give the same answer a second time. So
Wait, hold on. Taliabo. See, this is why we have to do it later. Look. Can you talk about delay, reflex, and neurofeedback, please? I saw Dr. Robert Melio talking about it. Not doing neurofeedback before adjusting delay. Thank you, Taliabo. Here we go.
Okay, but I have a question about the question.
Go ahead.
Is she saying, Taliabo, are you saying that this doctor is not doing neurofeedback before adjusting the delay reflexes? I mean, I'm a little confused.
I'm assuming this is Robert. This is Dr. DeMillo,
Right.
who wrote the book and the brain balance centers and all of that. Okay, same guy. I'm assuming what he's advising is that this person, if I'm not mistaken from last week, this is a person with a child on the spectrum, if I'm right, and that there's a delayed, the delay reflex, that's the best way I know to say it too, is underneath higher cognitive functioning. So I'm assuming, yes, you're saying correct. So I'm assuming that's why one would recommend an occupational therapist, whatever that framework is, to recommend doing that therapy before neurofeedback. Is that essentially what you're asking, Talabo? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Is it making sense to this panel?
I put his last yes up there.
Well, then she said correct. So
right.
Well, yeah, I did that too.
I do not understand the value of doing the reflexes before you would do the neurofeedback, because just from a logical standpoint, the reflexes are in great measure going to be tied to the electrical circuitry of the brain and how those impulses are delivered. So if you can get those to be more organized, flexible, and receptive, I wonder if doing the neurofeedback first might actually increase the speed that you could do the reflexes.
It's an interesting
My old business partner, Curtis Kripe, worked with severely developmentally delayed children, and he did neurofeedback, but he combined it with crawling, primitive reflex work. And he had done the primitive reflex work previous to adding in the neurofeedback, and he found that the neurofeedback ended up kind of speeding the process. So I don't know that it has to be done in separation. That the neurofeedback may end up actually facilitating the benefit of the reflex training. And I don't know that Curtis's work was exactly the same as the doctor's book. I haven't read it, so I don't know.
One of the things from a practical standpoint is a lot of the families who have been to me, it becomes a financial burden to them to try and do more than one therapy at a time.
Right.
And they do really agonize over what should I do first? What should I do first? What should I do first? Because there's 18 different therapies that they're suggested they should do. It's important. So the report that I got from parents, and now I'm not specifically talking about the reflex therapy, but there's dozens of therapies that children on the spectrum go to and benefit from. And I used to keep a notebook asking parents to write their impressions down. This is before we had Yelp or the internet. And what did this bring to what did this bring for your child? And most of them said, every therapy we've ever done has been some help. But looking back, we wish we had started with the neurofeedback because it sort of solidified everything else. So
I am living proof of this. My own daughter. We did all of the therapies: sensory integration therapy, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy. We, literal psychotherapy. We did them all. Right. And I still say my takeaway from the experience was, yes, they all had a benefit, and yes, neurofeedback was by far and away the most important. Wow. It made all the others work better, by the way, because we did them literally almost all of them at once because we're crazy.
About 18 was an imaginary number that I pulled out of the air.
Right. But I just rattle off a bunch: sensory integration therapy, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy,
therapy, art therapy, music
art therapy. Exactly.
Everything.
They're all valuable. Talabo.
I love Talabo. All right, everybody on the panel, if somebody says, you know what, I had a good night's sleep and I'm thinking like, I wish I would have said this. We have a show tomorrow, Jay. Do you have any problems with anybody coming on and making sure they got their opinions across on our podcast?
Anybody, just not John. Don't invite John.
I'm not a gatekeeper for questions or attendance, and I'm just one of the flock. So,
All right. Talabo knows. I love you, Talabo. Talabo, here's our deal. 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Pete at neuronoodle.com. Send me an email if you want to come on. I love you.
8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
All right. Talabo, you have to be willing to get on camera. That's one of Pete's rules. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You have to look better than me.
It's a pretty low bar, Pete. Come on, let's be honest.
Hey, they have me on.
Oh, come on. Hey, Joy.
No, Talabo, if you're hearing this, tomorrow's is a recorded session. It's different than this. It's not. This isn't broadcast live. That's why Pete's inviting you to come on.
Well, here's what we're trying to do, Joy. Oh. Joy, this is what, your second time?
Second time.
Second time. Santiago, wait, hold on. Wonderful. Wait, I got a wonderful. Wait. And my daughter will join me. Okay. We're trying to spread the word, whether it's this format or what we've always done. Don't care. Autopsy without blame. Whoever wants to come on and say, hey, This is my issue. Here's how we can train it.
Wow.
We got it, right? So we are throwing stuff against the wall and seeing if it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to turn Pete 35,000 subscribers into 200,000. Not because he's deriving a huge living out of this.
I want to turn 30,000 to 29,000.
Large fortune into a small fortune. I know the joke.
All right, Joy, everybody, Santiago, throw it out. What do you got left?
Oh, God.
What I have left is a question that comes up a lot, and I don't think we have time to really do it justice. But what the public is terrifyingly confused about is what kind of neurofeedback? Oh, I'm doing neurofeedback.
Yeah.
Well, what do you, and then they don't know. They think somehow that the equipment determines it. They think that somehow, and I understand people put websites up and they market and they tell you that infraslow frequency is the way to go if you have PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's really important that the public understands that our field has never in any way, shape, or form done any head-to-head comparison. It would be wonderful if we could take a group of autistic children who are sort of similar to each other, because that's the best you're going to do, and you tried 3 or 4 of the different approaches, and you came to some kind of conclusion, because we ourselves would like to know that. I would love to be able to say, listen, if your child is on the spectrum at this degree, that is the best way to go. You're going to get the fastest and best results. I would send people there all day long, right?
Yep.
But I sit at home with my good old, I guess we're just traditional amplitude training. And I've had major success with autism. I've had major success with PTSD. I didn't have the luxury of ever specializing. So I have seen a huge range of people. They don't all come in with the same problem. But once I have given them the proper attention, learned enough, the amplitude training does a really good job. And I cannot sit here and tell people that it's faster or it's better. All I can do is say it works.
Right.
But I think it would be a major kindness if we could simply even just explain to the people what these things are. What is infraslow training? What is infralow training? What is Z-score? What is Loretta? What is the traditional amplitude stuff, right? What's lens? Well, I mean, they're hearing all these things and they think it's all equivalent, which of course we know it's not even close. So,
and there are devices that are FDA registered as general health and wellness, which really cannot make a specific claim, or they jeopardize their FDA clearance. There's others that have gone through and gotten themselves as a 510K medical device, and they can end up having specific applications. But the general health and wellness devices are quite often seen online with general health and wellness device being discussed as being a treatment for something. And you've got somebody making a claim beyond the manufacturer's capability of making that claim without jeopardizing their ability to still have the device. Most of the time, the ability to do it as a general health and wellness device is driven by the desire to sell it to the general public, as opposed to a medical device that requires a prescription or a license. And that's a big difference. I mean, if you've got a device that you can sell to anybody who wants to buy it, you've got a big market. If it's only to licensed professionals or those that get a prescription, it's a very limited market. So there's a big difference between the two kinds of devices as to what can be claimed, and the intent of the company basically for marketing is commonly the thing that's different.
All right, everybody that's been on this panel, if anybody wants to come on in 12 hours and 48 minutes. Send me an email. I'll give you an invite. We'll do it. Fair enough. Anthony, anything you want to close out with?
I don't know that the study today that came out, it said that there's a 3.5.
Yes, that's a good answer.
Yeah, I don't know. This is to me, this was a big effect. Mothers who have a high urinary BPA level were 3.5 times more likely to have a male child with autistic symptoms, or if they had a male child, it was 3.5 times more likely. It was 2 to 6 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism by age 11. And that, I mean, this is one study. It came out today, literally in Nature Communications, which is a fairly well thought of, I think, paper. So the point is, I mean, maybe that's explaining. We ask on this podcast a lot, why do we see autism maybe increasing? Maybe this is part of it. And I know that autism is traditionally, it's not exclusively, but for the most part, it is a male. I think it's 85% a male diagnosis. There's claims that women are underdiagnosed, and those are probably true. But maybe this is explaining some of that. I just thought that was crazy today.
Anthony, is there anything in that study talking about how, I mean, I guess the question is, do functional medicine doctors typically screen for that? That's outside my awareness that that's something that you would get screened for at your obstetrician's office or your doctor's office. How would you know?
If it's in your bloodstream, it goofs up the metabolic pathways on testosterone and neuroestrogens. So,
yeah. But how do you find out?
Yeah, getting it tested.
If I'm about to get pregnant, how would I go get a test to make sure that isn't happening?
Blood test, yeah.
Yeah, there's a Time
You
magazine.
say that like it's easy, John.
I'm sorry, what?
You say that like it's easy.
No, it isn't. It isn't easy. You have to ask for it. You have to, you got to go to the doctor and ask for it.
Well, I can tell you right now, my doctor wouldn't even. He'd go, what? And there's nothing on the form, so I am getting specific. Who is the doctor who can order that lab test? It's not a typical lab test.
I'm typing it into Google right now because I don't know. I truthfully don't know the answer. I'm going to make an assumption that
I tried to bail us all out of this like 20
I know,
minutes
and then you threw it to Anthony. Oh, you had to know what was going to happen.
I had to get it out. I mean, this is a shocker. So.
It's good to see Anthony out there scrubbing the literature, because nobody can stay on top of it all, and having somebody searching ends up popping up interesting articles from different sources than you might normally look at. So I'm happy to have you out there kicking the can around and finding the ones that got something in them,
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Jay, that was pretty huge. Anthony, that was pretty big, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I'll be riding high on that for a month, kind of thing. Yeah. But thank you.
All right. So if somebody wants to show up on the show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central or 8 a.m. Pacific, send me an email, or 9 a.m. Eastern. Send me an email. Joy, I forgot where the hell you're at. Send me an email. Show up. Let's go. And we're going to shut this thing down because we've had more private chats than public chats.
I'm happy to see any of you and all of you tomorrow morning at 8. And obviously Pete's trying to draw this one to a close. You see him going like this. I've been pointing at my watch, So just
hold on. Before I do it, hold on. Here is. I'm going to put it in this chat here. Anybody wants to show up, here it is. Okay? Right there.
We will see you tomorrow morning, Pete.
All right. Hey, where's Sky? Why is he so quiet now?
Renita's home, and he squeaked a little bit ago, and I muted myself because sometimes you start to almost like sing, and you don't want the howling dog in the background. What's really funny is when he's not in the house,
in the morning, Jay.
he goes out on hikes. He doesn't bark at anyone. He doesn't make any sound at anyone. If he wants to, he'll step between you and Renita if you try and get close to Renita. he does that for me too. You know, he protects Renita. So. But you'll hear him on and off. He pipes up whenever he feels like it. It's
Santiago,
a dog's world in his house.
thank you for piping in.
Thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure.
Well, yeah,
so.
you are Mr. Oxford.
No, worthy of thank you.
We're old
I
school.
just gotta say to you guys.
And I'm glad to see you stepping up to be the glorified tech traveling around the world like I used to, because the world needs the work, you know. And I know you deliver a good product. So.
All right, all. Here we go. 3 weeks in. We'll try next week. All right, here we go. Hey, everyone. If you're enjoying the show and want to help us keep it going, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support helps improve the content and brings on great guests and grow the show. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/NeuroNoodle. But hey, if supporting financially isn't in the cards right now, no worries. You can still help us out for free by liking, subscribing, and sharing this episode. It really makes a difference and helps more people find the show. If we've earned it, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. The NeuroNoodle podcast is supported by listeners and businesses just like you. Hey everyone, here's a quick message from our good old buddy Joshua Moore at Alternative Behavioral Therapy.
I'm preparing to do an introduction to QEEG phenotypes. This is my first workshop on the topic, and this is just the introductory overview of the project. This is going to be very, very basic. So let's review each phenotype. We're just going to go through them one by one. If you look at the DSM-1, 2, or 3, and you look at the first chapter, it actually acknowledges that the DSM in mental health is just, quote, a descriptive adaptation, unquote. We're going to customize the interventions and tailor them to the individual's brain activity, not just applying the treatments or trainings to the individual's phenotype and maybe even their variants, but also customizing the protocols themselves to fit that person's individual unique frequency patterns. Maybe a dozen ways to have excessive energy in your nervous system, and then there's an infinite amount of ways to relate poorly to that excessive energy, which means that there is a lot of variations in what someone might call anxiety. And that doesn't mean that we're talking about the same thing when we're talking about anxiety. So complicated stuff. But when we look at a brain map, we get some basis in which we can start talking about what is this energy. Then we have to go to the client. We have to start talking to the client about what is your association to this specific kind of energy that I can see now. Then we get to care about things that insurance doesn't restrict us on. We get to care about like the person in a broader way. 85% improvement in mental health report following pairing a medication with a specific phenotype. You know, geez. Okay, have you seen 85% in any mental health studies for any medication? I'm going to be going over a whole bunch of different types of tests, assessments, and things that can be used that have things called neurocorrelates, which you saw some of those already. Better success outcomes. That's what we really want. We need better predictive power. We need better individualization. That's what we want.